We all wear masks. Some we craft from smiles, hiding our worries from the world. Others are forged from silence, shielding our vulnerabilities from judgment. But the most insidious masks are woven from avoidance. These masks conceal our deepest fears, keeping us trapped in cycles of procrastination and self-doubt. Think about a time you felt a flicker of fear. Perhaps it was a challenging task at work, a difficult conversation you needed to have, or a dream you kept pushing aside. In those moments, avoidance whispered a tempting solution. Just for today, just this once. But avoidance is a cunning deceiver. It promises temporary relief but demands a hefty price. Your growth, your potential, your authentic self. This isn't about judging your fears, it's about understanding how they silently shape your choices, limiting your life's possibilities. Imagine your life as a vibrant tapestry, woven with threads of experiences, relationships, and accomplishments. Each time you give in to avoidance, a thread is left unwoven, leaving gaps in the fabric of your journey. These gaps represent missed opportunities, unfulfilled dreams, and the lingering weight of what-ifs. The fear of failure might prevent you from pursuing a passion. The fear of rejection might keep you from forming meaningful connections. The fear of the unknown might hold you back from embracing new adventures. But here's the truth. Fear itself isn't the enemy. It's a natural human emotion, a signal that something needs your attention. The real danger lies in allowing fear to dictate your actions, to become the invisible hand steering your life in a direction you haven't consciously chosen. This is an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery. It's time to remove the masks of avoidance, to confront the fears that hold you captive, and to reclaim your power. This isn't about becoming fearless, it's about learning to dance with fear, to understand its language, and to harness its energy for growth. Throughout this journey, we'll explore the science behind fear, uncover the hidden costs of avoidance, and equip you with practical strategies to face your fears head-on. You'll learn how to reframe fear as an opportunity for growth, to cultivate self-compassion in the face of setbacks, and to celebrate the courage it takes to step outside your comfort zone. This is your life, your story, and it's time to start writing the chapters you've been too afraid to face. Close your eyes and imagine yourself back in time. Not to days of knights and castles, but further back, to a time when survival was a daily pursuit. You're an early human, walking through a dense primeval forest. The air is alive with the sounds of nature, rustling leaves, chirping insects, distant bird calls. Your heart pounds, senses sharpen, every rustle sending a jolt of adrenaline. The rustling in the bushes might have been a saber-toothed tiger then, but today it's the fear of a negative review. Fear is a cascade of electrical and chemical signals surging through your brain and body. It starts with a perceived threat, a shadowy figure, a sudden loud noise, or even just a thought. This activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center. The amygdala triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate spikes and your breathing becomes rapid. Muscles tense, ready for fight, flight, or freeze. While our primal fear response evolved to protect us from tangible threats, the modern world presents us with a new breed of fears. These fears often wear the masks of everyday anxieties, the pressure to succeed, the fear of judgment, the uncertainty of the future. We no longer face saber-toothed tigers in the wild, but we grapple with metaphorical beasts, the fear of public speaking, the fear of failure in our careers, the fear of not being good enough in our relationships. These modern fears, though less immediately life-threatening, can be just as debilitating. They can keep us stuck in unfulfilling jobs, sabotage our relationships, and prevent us from pursuing our dreams. We might not be running from predators, but we are often running from our true selves, the selves that long to live with greater purpose, authenticity, and joy. One of the most insidious aspects of fear is its ability to paralyze us with doubt and indecision. It whispers insidious what-if scenarios, painting worst-case outcomes with vivid brushstrokes of anxiety and apprehension. What if I try and fail? What if I put myself out there and get rejected? What if I step outside my comfort zone and discover I'm not who I thought I was? These what-if questions become mental roadblocks, preventing us from taking risks, pursuing opportunities, and living life on our terms. Fear thrives on uncertainty. It magnifies the unknown, distorting our perception and making challenges seem insurmountable. But here's a liberating truth. Uncertainty is an inherent part of life. It's in the spaces between the known and the unknown that growth, discovery, and transformation occur. Section 5. When fear disguises itself. Fear is a master of disguise. It rarely announces itself with a roar. Instead, it often whispers in subtle ways, masquerading as procrastination, perfectionism, or a need for control. Procrastination becomes a way to avoid the potential discomfort of a challenging task. Perfectionism becomes a shield against the possibility of criticism or judgment. A need for control becomes an attempt to create a sense of order and predictability in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. Recognizing these disguises is the first step toward reclaiming your power from fear. It's about understanding that beneath the surface of these seemingly harmless behaviors lies a deeper fear that needs to be acknowledged, understood, and ultimately transcended. Section 1. The unseen scars. Avoidance might seem like a harmless coping mechanism, a way to shield ourselves from discomfort, disappointment, or pain. But like a deep wound that's never properly cleaned, avoidance leaves behind unseen scars, impacting our emotional well-being in profound ways. Every time we choose avoidance, we reinforce a limiting belief. I'm not strong enough to handle this. I'm not worthy of pursuing that. It's safer to stay hidden, to play small, to avoid the risk of being hurt. These beliefs, though often unconscious, chip away at our self-esteem, leaving us feeling inadequate, unworthy, and powerless. We become prisoners in gilded cages of our own making, surrounded by the bars of self-doubt and fear. Section 2. A life half-lived. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at a crossroads. One path stretches before you, paved with familiarity and routine. It's a path devoid of risk, but also devoid of growth, excitement, or fulfillment. This is the path of avoidance. The other path is less defined, winding its way through a landscape of unknowns. There are challenges along this path, to be sure, but also opportunities for growth, adventure, and the discovery of your true potential. Each time we choose avoidance, we choose the easier path, the path of least resistance. But in doing so, we deny ourselves the richness and fullness of a life lived with courage, authenticity, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. One of the most insidious consequences of avoidance is the heavy cloak of regret it drapes over our lives. Years down the road, when we look back on our journeys, it's not the risks we took that haunt us, but the chances we didn't take, the dreams we left unexplored, the words left unspoken. We might find ourselves replaying past scenarios in our minds, wondering, what if I had been brave enough to pursue that passion? What if I had spoken my truth, risked vulnerability, and allowed myself to connect more deeply with others? Regret has a way of amplifying the perceived cost of avoidance, reminding us that the things we fear most are often not nearly as terrifying as the regret of a life half-lived. The good news is that no matter how deeply entrenched we've become in patterns of avoidance, it's never too late to break free. The first step is recognizing that avoidance is not a life sentence, it's a choice we make each and every day. The power to choose differently, to choose courage over comfort, to choose growth over stagnation, resides within each of us. It starts with a willingness to shine a light on the fears we've been hiding, to acknowledge their presence without judgment, and to understand the ways in which they've been shaping our choices. This journey of self-discovery isn't about eradicating fear entirely. It's about learning to dance with fear, to become more familiar with its nuances, and to develop the tools and strategies to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience, authenticity, and joy. We often talk about fear as if it were a singular entity, a monolithic force that descends upon us, demanding obedience. But fear, like a prism catching the light, refracts into a spectrum of anxieties, worries, and insecurities, each with its own unique hue and intensity. To truly understand the role fear plays in our lives, we must move beyond the general and delve into the specific. It's not enough to simply acknowledge that we're afraid. We must identify the precise nature of our fears, the triggers that set them off, and the ways in which they manifest in our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. This process of unmasking our fears requires honesty, courage, and a willingness to look inward with compassion and curiosity. It's about peeling back the layers of self-protection we've built up over time, gently examining the raw, vulnerable places within ourselves where fear has taken root. One of the most effective ways to uncover our hidden fears is to learn the language of avoidance. Avoidance rarely announces itself with a grand gesture. Instead, it speaks in whispers, disguising itself as procrastination, perfectionism, or a need for control. Pay attention to the subtle ways in which you might be avoiding discomfort or uncertainty. Do you find yourself putting off important tasks, even when you know delaying them will only create more stress down the road? Do you strive for unattainable standards of perfection, fearing that anything less than flawless will expose you to criticism or judgment? Do you cling tightly to routines and familiar patterns, resisting change even when it might lead to greater fulfillment or opportunity? These seemingly innocuous behaviors can be telltale signs of deeper fears lurking beneath the surface. Journaling can be a powerful tool for self-discovery, providing a safe and private space to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment or censorship. Set aside some time each day to engage in a dialogue with yourself, using your journal as a sounding board for your fears, anxieties, and aspirations. Start by simply noticing and naming the fears that arise. Don't try to analyze them, judge them, or push them away. Just acknowledge their presence with a sense of gentle curiosity. As you become more comfortable sitting with your fears, begin to explore the potential root causes. What experiences, beliefs, or messages from your past might be contributing to these fears? How are these fears impacting your choices, behaviors, and relationships in the present moment? Fear is a natural human emotion. It's not a sign of weakness or failure. Fear can be a powerful teacher, guiding us to grow and heal. Shift your perspective to transform your relationship with fear. See fear as a messenger, pointing to areas needing courage. Ask, what is this fear trying to teach me? Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. It's filled not with books or supplies, but with unspoken fears, worries, and anxieties. Each time you avoid a difficult conversation, each time you put off a challenging task, another stone is added to the weight you carry. At first, you might not even notice the extra burden. You might even convince yourself that you're simply being practical or realistic by avoiding potential discomfort or conflict. But over time, the weight becomes heavier, pulling you down, draining your energy, and casting a shadow over your days. This weight manifests in subtle ways: a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a nagging sense of unease that follows you like a shadow. It might show up in your sleep, in your relationships, or in your ability to experience joy and fulfillment in your daily life. Anxiety, in many ways, is the echo of avoidance. It's the persistent hum of unease that arises when we try to outrun our fears, to bury them deep within ourselves, hoping they'll eventually disappear on their own. But fears, like seeds buried in fertile ground, have a way of taking root and growing stronger in the darkness. Each time we avoid a fear-inducing situation, our brain receives a clear message. This is something to be afraid of. This is something to avoid at all costs. This reinforces the neural pathways associated with fear and anxiety, making it more likely that we'll respond with avoidance in the future. This creates a vicious cycle. Avoidance breeds anxiety, and anxiety fuels further avoidance. We become trapped in a self-perpetuating loop, our lives constricted by the very fears we're trying so desperately to outrun. One of the most insidious aspects of avoidance is the way it distorts our self-perception. When we consistently avoid challenges, difficult conversations or situations that push us outside our comfort zones, we create a distorted reflection of ourselves in the mirror of our minds. We might start to believe that we're not capable of handling difficult situations, that we're not strong enough to face our fears, that we're somehow less than those who seem to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and grace. This distorted self-image can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we believe we're not capable of success, we're less likely to take the risks necessary to achieve it. If we believe we're not worthy of love and belonging, we're more likely to sabotage our relationships or avoid intimacy altogether. Section 4. The crushing weight of should. Avoidance often goes hand in hand with a chorus of inner critics, each one eager to remind us of all the things we should be doing, all the ways in which we're falling short of our own expectations or the perceived expectations of others. You should be more successful, you should be in a relationship by now, you should be happier, more confident, more put together. These shoulds become weapons we wield against ourselves, adding to the weight of self-doubt and inadequacy that we carry on our shoulders. The truth is, most of these shoulds are nothing more than external pressures, internalized societal expectations that we've allowed to dictate our worth and define our paths. When we release ourselves from the tyranny of should, we create space for authenticity, self-compassion, and the freedom to define success and fulfillment on our own terms. Section 5. Reclaiming your power. The journey from avoidance to empowerment begins with a simple yet profound shift in perspective. You are not powerless in the face of your fears. You're not defined by your anxieties or limited by your past experiences. You have the power to choose courage over comfort, to choose growth over stagnation, to choose a life lived in alignment with your values and aspirations. This power doesn't come from denying or suppressing your fears. It comes from acknowledging their presence with compassion and curiosity, from understanding the ways in which they've been shaping your choices, and from developing the tools and strategies to move forward with courage, even in the face of uncertainty. The word courage often evokes images of grand gestures, firefighters charging into burning buildings, activists facing down oppressive regimes, whistleblowers risking everything to expose injustice. But courage isn't reserved for extraordinary circumstances. It's the willingness to take that first step, even if it's just putting on your running shoes. It's about showing up for that job interview, even if you're terrified of rejection. Think of facing your fears not as scaling a sheer cliff face, but as navigating a winding path with gentle inclines and rest stops along the way. You don't have to conquer everything at once. In fact, trying to do so often backfires, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and defeated before we even truly begin. Instead of setting yourself up for a fear-induced free fall, break down your goals into smaller, more manageable steps. If you're terrified of public speaking, start by practicing in front of a mirror. Then share your presentation with a trusted friend or family member. Each small step, each act of courage, however seemingly insignificant, chips away at the wall of fear, allowing you to gradually expand your comfort zone without triggering an overwhelming sense of panic. What if, instead of viewing fear as an enemy to be vanquished, we began to see it as a valuable, albeit sometimes irritating, guide? What if, beneath its often unpleasant exterior, fear held clues to our deepest desires, our unrealized potential, the areas of our lives that most need our attention and care? Fear often points to the things that matter most to us. We fear failure because we yearn for success. We fear rejection because we crave connection and belonging. We fear the unknown because deep down we long for growth, expansion, and the thrill of discovering who we are beyond the confines of our comfort zones. By reframing fear as a compass rather than a roadblock, we can begin to shift our relationship with it, transforming it from a source of paralysis into a catalyst for growth. Remember those insidious what-if questions that fear loves to whisper in our ears. It's time to reclaim the power of what if and turn it to our advantage. What if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? What if by facing this fear, I open myself up to a level of joy and fulfillment? We begin to attract the very things we desire by moving forward with courage and an open heart. Self-compassion, your steadfast ally. The journey of facing your fears is not a linear path to a destination called fearless. It's a winding, often messy, deeply personal process filled with setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when you might feel like you're taking 2 steps back for every step forward. And that's okay. In those moments when fear feels overwhelming, when self-doubt threatens to derail your progress, self-compassion is your steadfast ally. Treat yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience you would offer a dear friend struggling with similar challenges. Remember that you are not alone in this journey. We all have fears. What matters most is not the absence of fear, but the courage to keep showing up, to keep taking those baby steps forward, and to keep choosing growth, authenticity, and a life lived in alignment with your values, even in the face of uncertainty. Embrace the unknown. The world often feels safer when confined to the familiar, but within this perceived safety lies a subtle form of confinement. To truly live is to embrace the unknown, to venture beyond the boundaries of our comfort zones. It's the birthplace of possibility. The tapestry of your authentic self. Remember that tapestry we spoke of earlier? The one woven with threads of experiences, relationships, and accomplishments? Each time you choose courage over comfort, each time you confront a fear and move forward with an open heart, you add a vibrant new thread to the tapestry of your life. These threads represent your resilience, your determination, your willingness to embrace the fullness of who you are, imperfections and all. They tell a story of growth, of lessons learned, of risks taken and challenges overcome. This is the tapestry of your authentic self, a unique and ever-evolving masterpiece created not in spite of your fears, but because of them. It's a testament to the power of choosing courage, of stepping into the unknown, of living a life that reflects the truth of who you are, even when that truth is still unfolding. A life worth living. Living a life of courage and authenticity is not a destination, it's a journey. There will be moments when fear feels overwhelming, when self-doubt whispers insidious suggestions, when the path forward seems shrouded in mist. But even in those moments, remember this: you are not alone. We are all fellow travelers on this journey of self-discovery, each of us navigating our own unique set of challenges and triumphs. Reach out to your fellow travelers, share your stories, offer support, celebrate each other's victories. And above all, never stop believing in the transformative power of facing your fears. For it is in those moments when we summon the courage to confront what scares us most that we truly come alive, stepping boldly into the fullness of who we are meant to be. This is a life worth living, a life of purpose, passion, and the unwavering belief in our own limitless potential.